Hello everybody, Chris Finnigan from Finnigan 40K sending off another video to start another narrative crusade. This is going to be, I'm going to try to get this right, the Alaitoc Aeldari Apocalypse narrative crusade. So I recently picked up the Eye of Terror, I don't know if I can show this, Games Workshop IP, but the Apocalypse book for what seems to be going to be the new 10.5/11 maybe. This might be just falling in before that comes out, but this is the Reign of Iron Apocalypse. It doesn't just have to deal with Cadia and the fall of the Cadian Gate and the Iron Warriors, but it's the new Apocalypse rules. And as you guys, if you've watched some of my videos, I love to do my own rules. And what is fantastic about these new ones is they seem to be completely open. The Narrative Crusade is going to have the Aeldari. This is not lore specific, but the Aeldari is lore specifically a dying race. They have had to move away from their worlds. They're now on craft worlds, which are massive ships. And this is going to be a genocidal mission by the Chaos Space Marines and Chaos Gods to once and for all stamp out the Aeldari. So kind of to set the narrative for this one, there is the Alaitoc Aeldari craft world that has gone down to a planet where they know that the Chaos Space Marines and Chaos Gods have been kind of getting themselves set up for one more massive attack. So this is kind of what happened to Cadia and the Cadian Gate, but in this case, the Aeldari are now going to get their heads cut off pretty much. Also during this battle, this narrative crusade, a lot of the other craft worlds have already been destroyed. Yvraine has been killed. If you guys know the lore, she's the one that was responsible for bringing Rabute Gilliman back with some Aeldari sorcery. So this is going to be a massive battlefront, and with the new rules of Apocalypse, I'm not sure, I didn't have the old rule book for Apocalypse, but it's very cool. So you have to choose one defender, one attacker. The defender in this case is going to be the Aeldari throughout, and the attacker is going to be the Chaos Space Marines. You start in something called Clash of Might, and I'm going to try to show you guys from the side of the camera here because in the book it might be a little different. I don't want to show you everything because there might be some issues with IP, but the way that it works is you play your first battle, Clash of Might, which is kind of like middle power. So there's the defenders and the attackers. If the movement goes and the attackers win that first battle, so I'm going to try to do this from your guys' side. The attackers win. It moves to the right, which I think from this side is you. I'm not sure. a little bit of trouble there with that. But the attacker moves to something called Storm the Breach. So that's if they win their first battle, which is the Clash of Might. After, if they win the Storm of Breach, it moves to Stand to the Last. And if it moves back the other way, it goes, you don't play Clash of Might again, which is the middle fight, but it moves to Collapsing Lines, which is the defender's victory, and then the Mighty have Fallen. So it looks from the Apocalypse rules, I've never played these before, they're very new, that it's probably going to be a total of 3 to 4 battles, mattering how everything happens. And I'm actually tying in the Aeldari Codex Narrative Crusade, which is very, very cool. So their Narrative Crusade, you can work off of basic Narrative Crusade rules, which are available through the Community Warhammer page. If you guys have Codex Aeldari, they have something that is specific to them called Guiding Fate. So I'm going to read through this a bit, and apologies if I break eye contact with you guys. But the Guiding Fate ties in super well with the Apocalypse. I don't know if that's going to be the case for a lot of different Narrative Crusades, but this one ties in super, super awesome. So in Guiding Fate with the Aeldari, you have specific objectives that you have to get to be able to get a fate ending successfully. So the whole idea here is like your Farseers or Spirit Seers can kind of see the future, and they've got a glimpse of something that has to happen during a specific battle for the Aeldari people and worlds to continue to work. So lining up perfectly here, Clash of Might, the first one that's part of the Apocalypse battle is going to be called Destined Device. I'll cover this again as we get into each battle, but I wanted a video to be able to refer back to So you guys can check it out. So Destined Fate is an objective is chosen, so an objective control area on the board is chosen at the start of the battle, and if controlled by the end of the battle by the Aeldari, that thread of fate ends successfully. So if it ends successfully, I'm going to be giving a grand kind of battle trait. So usually, like if you guys have seen in my, if you haven't seen it, my previous Cadian Narrative Crusade and Sisters of Battle, you got like specific battle traits based off of experience, as this is a grander scheme, and this isn't part of Warhammer. I'm just building it in myself, and you guys feel free to do the same if you like it. It's a grand battle trait or a grand battle scar. So in this first one here, let's say there's, you know, a bottom left objective on the table. If the Aeldari hold that by the end of the fight, I'm going to give them a buffer of like a save ability, or maybe an additional unit, something like that. I'm going to have to figure it out just to make sure that it's fair. And if it is a battle scar, playing into this narrative of the Aeldari being a dying race, I'm actually going to be removing a unit from the Aeldari side each time. And that kind of plays into, they don't have enough people left to be able to get into Aeldari Guardian battle armor or any more aspect warriors to step into that role. So as the narrative goes on, and if they continue to get battle scars and the attacker's victory moves to storm the breach, stand to the last, it's going to remove an Aeldari unit each time. A lot of these too, when I get into the fights, when we see it, they're based off of Aeldari Guardian forces, so I can't remove an Aeldari Guardian force because they kind of play into the threads of fate. So it's going to have to be like an aspect warrior unit that's removed, fire dragons, dark reapers, stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. I'm really hoping, like, I want to stay positive and say that the defenders are going to win and get these buffs. But yeah, as we move through each fight, I'll, you know, describe what the guiding fate is for that fight. And just to build in here too, so you guys know the rules, and so I'm not repeating this every single time we start up. There is going to be rules that have been brought in from the Narrative Crusade, from the Apocalypse book that I'm building into the Narrative Crusade. So the other thing too, like if you guys pick up Apocalypse and you play 30K, you could really use these Apocalypse rules for 30K too. And I don't know, my battles with 30K, like I got a few of the beginner box sets. This would be amazing. So I'm going to read them, just let you guys know so I can refer back to this. So a few of the rules that are coming in that have been adapted by me for this are Fog of War. So in the first battle round, a unit cannot be targeted unless the attacking model is within a set distance of that unit. My table is not going to be a 6x6. It'll probably be a 6x4. So I'm thinking 12 inches, 18 inches. And that's literally, as the forces move in closer together, they can't fire until they're within that range. So it's going to build a little bit more strategy of how I want to move my forces and where I want to move them. Attacking in this too, there's going to be no hit roll, no wound roll, no save roll. So I've thought about doing this previously with actually like a deck of cards. And if you guys have played War before, it's like, you know, you pull a 3, somebody pulls a king, the king beats the 3. But the way that this is going to work is attacking minor skirmishes. So a D3, which I've explained previous, but that cuts a dice in half. So a 1-2 is a 1, 3-4 is a 2, and then a 5-6 is a 3, is going to be rolled from both sides. So if the Aeldari have the initiative, it's their battle turn to start. I roll the dice. If it's a 6, that means 3 of the enemy models are removed immediately if it's a squad of 5 or less. If it is a squad of 10 or more, it's going to be a D6 roll. So if I roll a 6, that means 6 of that unit is removed. I'm also going to be doing kind of the back and forth that was in 30K. I'm not sure if it's within the new rules, but there's a reaction that's allowed. So literally, like, let's say my fire dragons are moving up. They roll a D3. They get a 6, so 3 models on the enemy force is removed. That enemy force that they're facing off against, whether it's in melee or range, is going to be able to then roll, and whatever that roll comes, so if they roll a 6 as well, it's going to be 3 of my fire dragons removed. So this is going to be super quick. They're massive forces too, so it's going to be 3,000 points on either side, which would take I don't know, a day usually to play, maybe more if you're playing with 3,000 points. But in this case, it's going to be pretty quick, I hope. We'll see how it goes. It's the first time I've done it. Character and monster models as well. I've made a specific rule for them. So there's going to be like skirmishes all over the battlefield with the minor units. And then if we have a character versus a character, it's actually going to be the rules that are pulled from their codex. So if we have Finnigan taking on Abaddon, let's say, it's going to be their normal range attacks and their normal hand-to-hand. So we're going to have these really cool like standoffs on the battlefield while there's a bunch of skirmishes going on. And that's to kind of be like, if you guys have played like Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors, like you have your two character models that are like facing off on the field, and then there's a bunch of forces fighting around them. That's kind of the idea I'm getting here. It's not going to look like that on camera, but I'll try to see if I can play some camera tricks and get that going. So that would be for any monsters. So if I have a Great Unclean One versus a Wraith Knight, same deal. Vehicles are going to be a little different. I'll get to that in a second, but characters versus characters. And in that, the characters are not going to be able to fight the peon models, and the peon models can't be taking pot shots at the characters. So literally characters versus characters, and that's going to line up on the field too. It's going to look pretty sick, and I have to kind of plan where I want them to, which means that the unit that they're supporting will also have to be close to them. So that's going to be pretty cool. Vehicles can be used as transport in my rules here as well. So they can move up, they can drop troops off. But again, troops are not going to be able to take pot shots at vehicles. The vehicles can fight the vehicles. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to allow characters and monsters to fight vehicles as well, because if you have like a bunch of las cannons coming from something firing into an Avatar of Cain, like it might go down pretty quick. So I'm going to try to build that in, and I'm really trying to make a balance here with the forces. So yeah, and I've covered the fight phase and then the reaction. So fight phase is going to go defenders first, and that's going to be the normal movement. So 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, whatever the Aeldari and Chaos Space Marines have. And also, which is going to be super cool, building this into the narrative for all of you Ultramarine fans. As you know, Rabute Gilliman was brought back into being by Yvraine with some Aeldari sorcery, and then souped up by Belisarius Cawl that gave him the Armor of Fate. So we are going to have some pretty sweet Ultramarine characters and some retinues coming in to support the Aeldari, because Marneus will not allow a genocide to happen. And as I stated in that past battle, if you guys want to check on my Finnigan 40K list, I don't think it's under a playlist. I think it might just be under Finnigan 40K. I did kind of a test battle of Aeldari versus Emperor's Children. And the Space Marines and Aeldari have always kind of had a bit of an alliance. Usually the Aeldari use the Space Marines for a means to an end. In this case, Marneus Caligar is not going to allow the Chaos Space Marines to wipe out a semi-allied force. So we're going to have some pretty sweet models. I'll cut to that probably as we go through just to show you guys, but it's going to be around a 2,500, 2,600 point Aeldari force. And then 400 to 500 points of Ultramarines are going to be coming in to help out. And they're going to be led by a character model for each battle. So I'm going to probably throw in Chaos Undivided first, maybe World Eaters or Death Guard after that. And if it does go to a third battle, may throw in Tzeentch, may throw in some different Chaos Undivided, and the final battle to build in that lore even more. Since the Aeldari birthed Slaanesh, it is going to be Slaanesh and the Emperor's Children fighting to put a nail in the coffin of the Aeldari, or will be that last force that's attacking that the Aeldari are defending for a win. So that's going to be super cool as well. And we're going to get some wicked fights like Marneus Caligar again versus Mortarion. Rabute Gilliman versus Mortarion. Marneus Caligar versus Karn the Betrayer. Like whoever I'm getting in there. Angron might be in there against an Avatar of Cain. It's going to be sick. So I'm going to try this out. We're going to give it a shot. I purchased a Wraith Knight today, so I've got to get that guy glued, painted. I still have Asurman as well that I just got. I got him primed with his blue. I need to paint him up also. But it's going to be pretty sick. Can't wait to show you guys how that's going to work. And I'll refer back to this video again throughout. But I'm looking for something that's going to be super quick, super efficient, building some awesome lore that's kind of outside of the Warhammer 40k universe. Maybe things are just a little bit ahead. So the Cadian Gate's fallen. We know that Perturabo is messing around with the Cadian Gate. Maybe they've taken it at this point. Chaos has come through. The Aeldari have been wiped out, 2, 3 of their craft worlds. Alaitoc is all that's left. Yvraine is dead. And they're coming out to make sure that the race is not finished, and the Ultramarines will not allow that to happen either. So it's going to be absolutely sick, or I hope it will be. We're going to take some shots. Like I might show you guys some of my Aeldari now, just to show you what I'm playing with. Or you know what, we'll probably do that on the table. So just keep this video as an info video. But yeah, I built those rules. Feel free to use them if you guys want. We'll see how it moves ahead. And stay tuned. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I love kind of messing around with the regular rules, pushing out the box a little bit, creating my own games, and the marrying of the Guiding Fate from the Aeldari Codex and this new Apocalypse rulebook. I don't think it could be a better marriage. So let's see how it goes. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with the next video. So yeah, again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.